Welcome back to the Trailer Hustle Podcast. This is the Trailer Owners Network. First of all, I just want to apologize for my voice, guys. I had a head cold that slowly worked its way lower, and it's one of those things. I'm trying not to be man sick, but hey, now and then you just got to get man sick. But in any case, sucking on some cough drops. I'm going to tough it out. I apologize about my voice. Hopefully you guys can tolerate it for the next couple days until it gets back to normal. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about something that's been coming up in the Facebook group quite a bit. If you're not currently in the Trailer Hustle Facebook group, definitely go and join the Trailer Hustle Facebook group. There's 18,500 people in there that are doing what we are doing, that are hustling, that are making a brighter future for themselves or wanting to, and getting the inspiration. And we're all talking shop. We're talking about the things that we do. We're talking about the things that we don't do. We're talking about our wins. We're talking about our losses. And it's a great community for everybody to get together and talk shop and help one another. So if you're not in the Trailer Hustle Facebook group, join the Trailer Hustle Facebook group. And one of the subjects that's been coming up quite a bit that I also had experience with and made a funny post about the other day was trailer damage. And there's a lot of people have a lot of questions as to, when do I charge a customer? Do I just charge them their deposit and eat the rest? If it was not the customer's fault, do I charge them? Do I take it to a shop and get a professional estimate and let the customer pay that? There's all kinds of different questions people have regarding that. I'm going to touch on a few of those in this episode and also share my specific situation that happened and how I handled it. And first, let me just kind of dive into that. Let me tell you what happened with mine. And for those of you that are watching this on YouTube, you'll see on the screen here me tinkering with this toolbox. For those of you that are listening and not watching, I had a customer that's a good customer of mine. He ran my 7x16 utility trailer. Great customer. He rents from me every week. Every week he rents from me, at least one day, sometimes the whole week. And he runs pallets. That's what he does for a living. He runs pallets. And normally he uses my bigger equipment trailers, but he's been using the 7x16 because he hasn't been getting a whole lot of bigger runs, bigger loads of pallets. So he's like, yeah, the 7x16 utility works fine. Let's do it. All right, great. Well, he had it on a 3-day rental. Brings the trailer back, sends me a picture. He always sends me a picture, let me know the tag's still on it, this, that, and the other, whatever. Well, he says forklift caught the lid of the toolbox and ripped the lid off. I'm like, all right, well, I'll go check it out at some point. So he leaves. I'm doing dinner with the family. Go out, check it out later on. And what had happened was he apparently the forklift that was loading a bunch of pallets onto the trailer caught the lid of the toolbox somehow, and the hinge that goes across the entire back, it's one of these Craftsman toolbox. It's like a Craftsman side of the truck bed toolbox that you'd find at Lowe's, like $350. And that's what I put on the front of my utilities. It's just really convenient. It works really well for the most part. Well, the hinge that goes across the entire back of it, it only has 6 or 7 little rivets that hold it in. And it ripped those completely out. Just boom, ripped them out. So the only thing that was holding the toolbox there was the latch in the front and the gas shocks that are bolted in. So I go and I hit the unlock, as you can see in the video if you're watching on YouTube, and the things just bounce all over the place. So I assessed the rest of the damage on the trailer. There was a little bit more fender damage where it looked like something ran into it or they backed into it or whatever happened. Nothing major, but it was there. Made the trailer just that much more ugly. There was also some damage to the railing. This is a PJ. I can't remember the exact model. CE, I think. It's one of the 7x16 utilities for PJ trailer that is a black trailer with the silver fenders. Everybody's seen them. And the rails on this trailer, I don't personally recommend this to anybody. It's a lesson learned on my part. I thought it would be cool. I actually don't like it. But in situations like this, I guess it's not a bad thing because you could just replace it. But all the other cons that come with this style of trailer, I'm just not a fan of. So he hit one of the stake pocket or one of the rail arms, I guess, that goes into the stake pocket. I'm not sure how. I don't know if it was just from I can't imagine him throwing a pallet at this thing and hitting it. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know, but it warped it pretty good. And those are things that I can't really fix myself. It's just I'm gonna have to deal with it looking ugly unless I want to replace it. And Sure, on one hand, I could go get an estimate from on the parts from the manufacturer. All these things are just bolt on, no big deal. I could take it to a fab shop and say, hey, can you fix this stuff for me? Get a quote from those guys. Yeah, I could do all those things. I could say, hey, I just need a brand new toolbox from you. Sorry. I could do those things. Well, this is a good customer of mine. And even if he wasn't, I don't know. I just don't feel right doing that when it's something I can get by with. These trailers, they're tools. They don't stay beautiful forever. They age. Some customers are a little harder on things than others, especially when I've noticed when a customer is a more frequent flyer, we'll say, they tend to get a little bit more comfortable with your equipment in the sense of, they get a little harder and harder and harder on it. So you start noticing more and more things starting to happen to it. I got a couple of customers that rent from me pretty consistently, and that's not the case. But a lot of them, I notice they get more and more familiar with it, more and more comfortable, a little bit more complacent with it. But it's, hey, cost of doing business. Sometimes you have to reaffirm with people, hey, let's keep maintaining the stuff. Let's make sure it's good. Yada, yada, yada. Treat it like your own. And most people are generally pretty great about it. So, and this guy, he's been excellent. He's been a great customer when things happen, random stuff has happened, and he takes care of it. If he keeps it for extra time, he communicates with me. He lets me know. He's accommodated my schedule plenty of times where I'm like, hey man, I know you need it for longer, but I got somebody that needs it that's been scheduled ahead of time. Can you come and swap for a different trailer? He does that. So he's a good customer, and he always pays. No issues there. No issues ever collecting money from him. So a good customer. So I'm not trying to hit him over the head with all these little things, and that's just not how I do business anyway. I don't recommend you do business that way either. Some of you guys listening might not agree with that, but this guy that consistently spends a minimum of $1,000 a month with me renting trailers, I don't see why I'm going to hit him over the head with a whole bunch of fees and potentially scare off that consistent business over $500 in parts and fees and labor. It's not worth it. So what I did in this particular instance is I fixed the toolbox best I could. The rivets, when they pulled out, they actually they made all the holes that were pre-drilled for the pop rivets were wallered out, I guess is the word you'd use. So they were a lot larger now. Everything was warped and funny looking. So I went ahead and just got some sheet metal screws and just drilled it in and fastened the thing back down. I put some zip ties in the old existing holes just to kind of pull it super tight, make it level, and hold it in place since I'm doing this thing by myself. And just zip some screws in there. Got everything else as good as it can be. So is it 100% functional like it was? No. Does it still latch and lock? Yeah, for the most part. You know how a lot of these locks have kind of that two-phase lock. Like you get kind of like a light duty click, and then you get the heavy click. This one doesn't go to the heavy click anymore. So I got to figure out how to adjust it for that. But I'll just tinker with it. I'm sure there's somebody listening like, dude, just do this. I don't know. I'll tinker with it. I'll mess with it. So I got that done. Again, looks a little uglier, functions probably 85, 90% like it used to. And it took me a couple hours of, maybe not even quite a couple hours, hour and a half. I don't know. Luckily for me, I've got random assortments of screws and weird random tools and different things that I need to get this stuff done pretty quick. But, I charged the customer $150. And when I reached out to him, matter of fact, here, I'll read you guys a text message that I sent him. So that way you guys kind of hear how it is that I handle this kind of stuff. Let's find him here. All right. I'm going to not say his name. Let's just say, hey, I was able to mostly fix the toolbox lid. When it ripped out the rivets, it also damaged the holes in the metal, so I wasn't able to rivet it back. It also broke some of the welds holding it together. Forgot to tell you all about that. I was able to straighten a lot of it out, and I had to use screws to mount the hinge back on. Doesn't close all the way like it should. It's ugly, but it's mostly functional. The other repairs would require replacing fender or replacing a portion of the railing. I'm just going to deal with it looking a little ugly. I also missed a rental last night because it was damaged, which that is also true. I had another customer that wanted to rent it. I couldn't because the toolbox didn't close. At the end of the text, I just said $150 is what I believe is fair for you to cover time and repairs. And his response later that afternoon was, I will send first thing in the morning. Once again, I apologize. I said, I really appreciate you. Not only do I appreciate you for being such a great customer of mine, but most importantly, I appreciate you handling business like this when stuff happens. I'll always try to be fair about things like this. Very grateful for you. He said, and I thank you for that as well. And a lot of guys, that I talk to, one of their big fears with getting started is handling stuff like this. It can certainly be uncomfortable talking to a customer about hard things. Obviously, if everything goes right, it's like, hey, what kind of trailer do you need? Yeah, I've got the perfect trailer for you. No problem. Come pick it up. Great. He's here to pick up. Awesome. Let's shake hands. Everything looks great. See you. They bring it back. Hey, how was rental? Great, man. You want to do a review? Cool. Though that's how the perfect scenario goes, right? Excuse me. But sometimes things go wrong, whether it be the customer's fault or, just something random or your fault or whatever. You have to know how to have these types of conversations with people. You also have to know how to not take things personally. Yes, it is your business. It can be hard to not take things personal. Trust me, I get it, especially if somebody gets upset or they start insulting you. Feels like it's personal, but they're just mad at the situation. They're not mad at you. They may think they're mad at you because you're the one relaying this bad news to them, but it's just situational. So don't take it personal. Always be the person to keep a level head. And you know what? Situation like this, he understood. He's like, hey, I messed it up. And I talk about this a lot. If you vet your customers properly, customers will tell you about things right out of the gate before they even bring the trailer back, usually. They're not going to try and hide things or act like, oh, I didn't do that. The previous guy must have done that. You don't get that a lot when you vet your customers properly. We'll talk more about vetting later on. But I always thank my customers for handling their business because so many people today just don't want to handle their business. I mean, it's an accountability thing. And as you guys know, accountability is, man, nobody wants to take accountability these days for anything. I hate it. I shouldn't say nobody, but you guys know what I mean. We have a huge accountability issue in general. And when people are like, hey, this is what I did, let me know, what it takes to make this right. Sweet. I'm all about it. And I will thank them for that because, yeah, you would think, oh, I'm not thanking them for that. Yeah, they messed it up. They should pay. Yeah. But you know what? They could be a shithead and they could fight you on it. They could say, I didn't do that. Excuse me, guys. They could be a jerk about it. So if somebody makes it easy on me to handle these damages, handle these repairs and all that and get back to business, and they're going to continue to be a great customer of mine, I'm going to thank them. Hey, man, I'm so grateful for you handling business like this. It really means a lot. Other people in the past haven't been as cool about it. I really appreciate it. It goes a long way. And the same thing goes with getting a review. I mean, I've gotten a lot of reviews from people that have damaged things. Sometimes I do a review in lieu of them paying for it. If it's like a $10 strap they messed up, okay, I'm not getting a $10 bill from them. Give me a great review. But even situations like this, I mean, hell, I've had a customer that damaged my fenders before, and it was very expensive. It was like I charged him $1,100. And he still did a good review for me. He's like, hey, I messed some stuff up. I had to handle business. He was very nice about it, made it easy for me to take care of the damages that I had done, yada, yada, yada. You can find that review. It's still active. But always thank your customers for handling business like professionals. I promise you it's the right way to go. Don't take it personal. And have those tough conversations. Be very clear in your expectations of the customer. And be fair with them as well. Very important. Very important to be fair. Something that I've been doing when it comes to damages, and we're going to talk more about, charging for certain things, what kind of things I do and don't charge for here in a moment. But something that I have been doing for my trailers that have non-drive over fenders. Pretty much all of my trailers now have drive over fenders for my car haulers, my equipment trailers, but I still have a couple of them that don't have it. And here's a little tip, and you can do this actually for whether you have drive over fenders or not, or whether it's fender damage or if it's toolbox damage or deck damage or whatever. If somebody damages something and it's something that it's not going to look perfect afterward, but you can fix it, maybe slap some paint on it, hammer it out, whatever it is, or you can just deal with it. It's just a little nick. The way I handle those things, especially if a customer's willing to pay for things, let's just say fender damage, because that's something that happens a lot, or even toolbox damage. little warps here and there, or people jackknife and things like that. When that happens, if it's not bad enough for me to have to replace the entire fender, and it's not, I mean, you'll know your line, of when you need to tell somebody, hey, you got to pay for that fender. But what I do when a customer does minor damage like that, to say my fenders, I charge a flat rate $25. And the reason I charge $25 is, you already know, and the guys listening to this, you're going to have 15 customers damage your fenders little by little by little. And then eventually you're going to have somebody wipe them out, or they're going to pay for the whole thing. And if they don't, if you've collected $25 from every customer that does a little damage to your fenders, by the time they're ugly enough where you're like, damn, I need to replace these fenders, well, you'll probably have collected, $1,000 from all these customers. And now your fenders are covered. So that way you're spreading the bulk of the fender replacement out amongst a bunch of customers, instead of hitting one person with all of it. Because yeah, you could certainly, you're well within your rights. If a customer damages it, hey, you owe me a new fender. Sure, you could do that. It's not good business, but you could do that. I mean, if they completely destroy them, yeah, of course, the customer's got to pay for it. I'm sorry. But little damage here and there that a lot of you guys let ride, stop letting it ride. Charge $25 and explain it to them like this. Hey, listen, Mr. Customer, I'm not going to charge you for, replacing the whole fender. The whole thing doesn't need to be replaced, but there is damage. It is a little less pretty than it was when you left with it. Sure, there's other existing damage, but what I do is I charge customers a flat rate, $25, if they do damage like that. That way, over time, as these, fenders or whatever part it is, continues to get more and more damage, it spreads the load of that repair out amongst a bunch of customers instead of just one person. Like if I were to just hit you and say, hey, it doesn't matter what was there before, you damaged it more, you owe me for a fender, which I'm well within my rights to do. This way, 10 customers pay for the new fender instead of one. And I haven't had a single person, I've probably collected $3,000 in in fender fees, $25 a head for a little damage here, a little damage there. And yeah, a lot of it I fix myself, or paint myself, or re-weld myself, or whatever, do my backyard repairs. But yeah, I've had to replace fenders like 6 or 7 times on various trailers. So a few of those times, of course, customers paid for the whole thing. But other times it was me footing the bill. So when I've collected this extra money, it really helps go towards that. So that's a little trick you guys can use, and I recommend you use when customers damage things. Again, even if it's just like scratches to the deck, hey, $10 fee for scratching the deck. Yeah, you're not going to have to replace that wood, but it's making it that much more ugly. Put that $10 towards deck replacement down the road, or whatever it is. They decided to step on the toolbox, warp the lid, whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can do that method with. So if you're not doing it, or you're letting a lot of things ride, get a little bit more firm with yourself and strict with yourself, and collect a $10 to $25 fee for whatever it is from each customer. Just explain it that way. You're spreading it out over multiple customers, so that way not one person gets hit with the bill, but a bunch of people get hit with the bill. It spreads it out. So one person's not spending $500 for a new fender, So I recommend it. Find a version that works for you. That's what works for me. And I don't get burned very often anymore, ever since I got more strict with myself with the way that I operate and vet the customers properly and all that. So highly, highly recommend that. So other things too, like I'll go through really quick. In the group, there were some other things that came up, like, hey, do I charge for this? Do I charge for that? Clearly for me, like I told you guys, $150 is what I charged. It really wasn't for parts or anything. It's just my time. Spending time doing it, the aggravation of it, and now knowing now that my trailer is just a little less ugly, or excuse me, a little less pretty, a little more ugly, and a little less functional than before. Okay, it's a fair compromise. We get a lot of people asking questions in the group of, how much would you charge to fix this? And looks like Brent posted about an hour ago, actually. Today is, well, I'm recording it the day before, but you guys are seeing this November 18th, Monday. But he posted, how much do I charge to fix this? And it looks like the customer hit the fender on the inside of his enclosed trailer. And it looks like the fender, like the back plate of the fender, those welds popped, and it kind of rolled the fender a little bit. So it looks like he could probably get in there and clean that up a little bit and tack weld it again. He needs something a little bit more durable in there in the first place. That's besides the point. Customer still damaged it. He could probably get away with charging the customer $100 just for his time and energy to do that. Now, if he has to take it to a fab shop, if he doesn't have the capabilities to weld it himself, yeah, you're probably going to take it to a fab shop, let them fix it up, probably charge the customer a few $100. for the damage, but this is pretty minor. I mean, that happens with those cheap style fenders like that. Those teardrop style fenders. So there's that, and then there was some other damages in here as well. Somebody said, not a good day at the office. Franklin Tire Company, shout out to you guys. Had some suspension issues. So anyway, damages are pretty common. Now, do I charge the customer for things that weren't their fault? Maybe they got a blowout. If the blowout wasn't caused by overloading the trailer, guess what? They still pay for the tire. They still pay, plain and simple. They're responsible for that trailer if it's in their possession, plain and simple. So if they have a wheel off because of whatever, bearing blows out or something, I'm up to date on my maintenance. If I check the GPS and use all these tools at my disposal, and I checked the GPS and they were doing 90 miles an hour at the time this thing happened, yeah, I'm going to charge them. And if it's something where you don't know, like I don't know if it was their fault or not, and they're requesting help because they just can't handle it themselves or whatever the deal is, I'll help facilitate that customer getting the trailer back, make sure they're safe and sound, the whole thing. And then I'll try and research it and figure out and inspect it, try and figure out what happened once it gets back and make a determination as to, is it the customer's fault or not? Now, if it's truly not the customer's fault, I'll be honest, guys, I don't hit people very hard for stuff like that. I mean, sometimes you just have to eat a repair or eat a rental because they had a problem with your equipment. Random, scary, weird, strange shit happens sometimes, So sometimes you just have to eat it. But if there's signs of overloading or signs of speeding, if you're using like a Ride Dog GPS, shout out to those guys where it tells you the speed. You got a lot of tools at your disposal to keep the customer accountable. Again, it's all about accountability. And also for me, I have other safeguards in place. Like if they blow a tire, I've got my tires warranty through Discount Tire. Excuse me. I've got my tires warranty through Discount Tire. So if the customer has a blowout or something like that, or something happens, I just take it there, get it replaced for free. I just buy a new certificate to put on that tire. And I charge the customer for the new certificate plus $10 for my time. It's usually around $50 that I charge a customer, and they're happy and I'm happy because it only costs them $50 instead of $250, and I've got a new tire on the trailer. And of course, hopefully nothing major happened with the blowout, but as far as like an accident or something crazy, but that's how I handle those types of damages. It really just depends on what it is. It's a case by case basis. So, but again, if you're not in the group already, join the Trailer Hustle Facebook group, ask questions, and post about your damages. People give you some advice if you're not sure what to charge or what to do. And better yet, you could, if you're experienced in this realm or you've been doing this kind of thing for a long time, post up in the group when you have damages and what you charge the customers. That way people can see how you handle the situation. We get a lot of guys that do that as well. And not necessarily just with trailer rentals, but even junk removal. If you're doing junk removal and or say you're doing roll-off dumpsters and somebody put 10 gallons of open paint containers in the bottom of the trailer and then covered it with bricks or whatever, and you get there and realize that paint spilled all in the trailer, how much are you charging your customers? What do you do? Get in there and comment about those things, and let's talk about it more. All these things are doing nothing but help the community grow, and help everybody excel much quicker than they would have otherwise by just experiencing it themselves and going through those growing pains themselves. High tide rises all ships, that whole thing. So, but with that, guys, damages are going to happen. If you're getting into this business, do not think that it will not happen. Customers don't own your equipment. They're not going to treat it like it's their own most of the time. And it does take a little bit of time. It takes some reps to really figure out those red flags, to vet people, and those red flags when certain types of customers rent. And it's so funny, like NBA insurance doesn't cover people under the age of 25, but the guys under the age of 25 have been my best renters. So I'm sure there's a reason to it, but you can go die for your country and drink alcohol and smoke cigarettes, but you can't have coverage from NBA if you're under the age of 25. Figure that out. Anyway, I'm just venting. Sorry. So my best renters are the younger guys that are happy that I'm working with them. They're moving their car, they're doing whatever. The guys that tear my stuff up the most are my friends and family, number one. And number two is the older guy that's been there, done that, and I've been pulling trailers since you were a glimmer in your daddy's eye. Those kinds of guys. They're so complacent in their abilities or I shouldn't say they're so confident in themselves, or because they've been doing it so long that they are complacent even with somebody else's stuff. And those are the guys that drive off without raising the jack back up. It's so crazy. So, but anyway, you'll pick up as you get into this business and start renting and start doing junk removal and start doing hot shot and start doing these things. Like you'll start seeing those red flags in vetting your customers. You'll still be able to vet your customers much more quickly as the years progress, as the months progress. Even just what type of customer they're going to be. Say in the rental game, if somebody says, "What's your cheapest trailer?" Or, "Hey, what's your biggest trailer? What's your heaviest duty trailer?" Especially if they're being kind of elusive as to what they're trying to do with it, and they're just asking those really vague questions. Those are all red flags. Usually, they're getting more and more vague with their questions and what they're looking for because they've already called somebody else, I've found, and somebody else already said no because I'm not renting to you because of blank. So they think that they're going to get vague with me, but it's like, no, I find out what the rental intentions are 100% of the time. And I always ask for photos. Asking for photos is another big thing, by the way. We're talking about accountability. Asking the customer for photos of their load does a few things. Number one, it, of course, gives you great content that you can use for social media, for marketplace posts, for whatever, to share in the Trailer Hustle Facebook group, for stuff like that, and the upcoming features in the Trailer Hustle mobile app. Anyway, the other thing it does is sometimes it will self-incriminate that customer and give you an extra tool to hold them accountable. I've had people send me pictures, and what's on the trailer is different than what they told me was going to be on there. The truck they're pulling the trailer with is now different than the truck they picked it up with, and I don't have the insurance or information for that truck. I don't know whose truck it is, whatever. And, sure, stuff happens. They may have to switch vehicle or whatever. They thought it was safer or whatever the deal. It doesn't matter. So that's happened. But also, when you see how they've done their load securement, sometimes they'll have straps on really hard, sharp edges and, things like that. They'll have knots tied in the trail in the straps. So as soon as you get it back and you do your inspection, if you look for those things and you see damage, you're like, "Hey, man, you did this." And like, "Oh, I didn't do that. Previous guy must have done that." It's like, "Oh, that's funny. See this picture you sent me? Yeah, sorry. Looks like you did it." So get pictures from customers as much as you can. It's a quick, easy thing. Hey, by the way, when you get the load on there, man, shoot me some photos. I'd love to use it for social media. They'll send it to you. So, and sometimes they'll just forget that they shouldn't send it to you if they're doing something wrong. But anyway, all this to say, don't be afraid to jump in this business because of damages. Stuff does happen. It is rare that major things happen. I'm thousands of rentals deep, and I've only had maybe a handful of major things happen. I've had a trailer get totaled. I've had major fender replacement. I've had to pay thousands of dollars to get one out of storage when it was impounded. All these things have happened. But luckily for me, and I know this is not the case for everybody, but I've been very fortunate where 100% of my customers that have had these major things happen have paid. I've never had to do an insurance claim. When I did, I canceled the claim because the customer ended up paying me. As a lot of you guys know from that video a few years ago. So I've been very fortunate when it comes to getting paid back by my customers. And a lot of that's the vetting process. We'll talk more about vetting process in another podcast. I'm going to cut this one a little bit short. Or not really short, but I'm going to cut it here because I am, my voice is rough. So I'm going to let my voice heal a little bit, guys. I just want to thank you guys again for tuning into the podcast. Wherever it is that you are enjoying the podcast from, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcast, or YouTube, please follow, like, comment, subscribe, all those things that you're allowed to do. Turn on the notifications so you can be notified of all new episodes. 8 a.m. all weekdays. We are going to be very consistent about this. New episodes every single day during the week, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. So be sure to tune in and be sure to drop a comment, drop a like, but drop a comment. Tell us what you guys want to talk about, what you guys want to hear. A couple last minute updates. The Trailer Hustle Picnic presented by Big Rentals. That is scheduled for March 14th. If you have not yet RSVP'd and you want to go, please RSVP. Your RSVP lets us know how much food to get. That also lets us use your information for the giveaways. You want to be a part of this. We've got some incredible sponsors, such as Big Rentals, as I mentioned. Lunch is brought to you by Wild Hog Barbecue and Ride Dog GPS. Activities are brought to you by Epoxy Warehouse USA. We've got some other great sponsors that are getting involved. So if you want to sponsor the event, you want to help out, you want to donate some swag to give away, whatever it is, reach out to me, Justin@trailerhustle.com. Comment on this video, whatever you want to do. There's plenty of ways to get in touch with me. Let me know. But aside from that, guys, looking forward to working with all of you more and more and more. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Trailer Owners Network. Have a great day, guys.